It's 11 o'clock. Welcome back in. It's hour number 2 of Three-Man Front on Jocks. Pat and Landrum. We are live here on the South Side. We're at UAB football, and the head football coach of the UAB Blazers, Trent Dilfer, joins us here. Coach, first off, thanks for having us. It's always a great time for us to come down here and hang out, watch practice, and be able to converse with you for a few minutes.
Not a bad view, huh?
It's fantastic.
And you got to see a little slip and slide.
Yeah,
That's pretty fun, huh?
What was going on? I made a joke. I was like, when does the ice cream truck get here?
Well, that's tomorrow.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
We picked the wrong day to be here, Landrum.
We came to the wrong day of camp.
Yeah.
Jim Zorn did it with us in Seattle in 2002, maybe. And it became a tradition of him with the quarterbacks to teach us how to slide. There is an art to sliding. A lot of these football players don't play baseball growing up, which we all played baseball growing up, so you just learn how to slide and don't think much of it. But Matt Hasselbeck hadn't played a lot of baseball and needed to learn how to slide. And it was fun, hot days and end of practice type thing. So we saw some awkwardness with Jaden last year with the ball. Everybody knows it, right? Like he's running, he's a fantastic athlete, and there was 4 or 5 really awkward moments where he either took a hit he didn't have to take, ball security issues. So I said in the offseason, I'm doing this, and ordered one off Amazon, and my grandson's coming today when you guys
there it is.
So I figured best of both worlds, get the quarterback some slide training, let everybody have some fun, and then Decker and I will get after it this afternoon.
My concern is we were watching it in real time. I saw the quarterbacks, and I thought the slides looked good. Then you had other position players that started jumping in, and one in particular I was a little bit worried about. Are we going to see him this season?
Who?
I don't know. He didn't have a number on. He fell awkwardly, and I thought it was a shoulder.
So it was Eddie Towson,
okay,
who's a really good linebacker, who's a fantastic athlete, who is from Africa.
Okay.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
And, it was like I could feel it in my feet when he hit the ground. I was a little worried, too. I did coach him up. I wanted to do this last year, and all the coaches were like, shoulder injury and hip injury, and, they're just out of fear. And I'm like, you know what, quit being scared. They're kids. They are kids. Let's not forget. They got to have some fun. So I coached them up. Hey, don't leave your arms back because you don't want to hurt her shoulder. Don't land on your hip pointer. Don't land on your shoulder. Like, use your booty. That's where you're supposed to land. Get your front foot up so it doesn't dig in. So I did coach him up a little bit, and he was really the only awkward one. And then a lot of guys chose to go face first. I didn't think they knew who Ricky Henderson was, but we got some Ricky Hendersons out there, and I'm looking at D. Lee right now, one of our secondary players, and he's 6'3", not more probably than 175 pounds. And I teased him. I said, "You just stayed on top of the water,
like a water balloon.
You're so light. You just stayed on top of the water." But he did. Some of them, him and Josh Baca and Tariq Watson, some of the really great athletes. They had so much. And I was using my meta glasses, so I filmed it all, and I was at the other end, and they were hitting the grass like full speed. So they're getting another 10 yards into the grass. So it was kind of fun. It was a nice way to end what's been 3 weeks of really an intense training camp, and wanted to add a little levity to it.
All right, let's start with your quarterbacks. You have not been bashful in your thoughts on yourself as a coach and the way that this team performed last year. But let's start with the offense. How have you felt over the last 3 weeks and where you are right now?
Well, my frustration has been that we have found every which way to lose a football game, and that is an indictment on the head coach. I mean, that's the way it is. You are what your record is, and your team plays as you lead it to play. So my frustration specifically offensively has been we've just been careless, casual. Great offensive football is not yards. It's the biggest lie out there. Yards are fun. Yards can be impactful. But clean football and points are what make great offensive football. And we would have these great yardage games, but have a couple turnovers, don't finish in the red zone, put our defense in some bad positions, poor fourth down management. I've never gone against the book, but that doesn't mean I'm right. Sometimes going with what the book says in these fourth down situations has hurt us because we haven't executed. And I have to have a better understanding of our team. So, you pile it all up and you do an off-season, self-reflection, and you're like, okay, I got to fix this. This is my area of expertise, so I got to fix it. And Mort can't fix everything. Mort's a fantastic offense coordinator. I'd put him against anybody in the country. But it does take more than one person, and it takes a strong voice and a message and a philosophy. So really the message has been without sacrificing our explosive qualities, because we've been very explosive offensively for 2 years in the run game and the pass game. Our explosive numbers would equate to 8 wins a season. If you just looked at that metric, it's really turnovers and explosives for offensive football equal winning. And our explosive numbers, sorry, I moved the camera there.
You're good.
I probably look better when I'm not on camera.
No, you look, you look great.
And so the balance is, okay, how do you stay explosive but get way cleaner without preaching the don'ts? Don't turn it over. Don't do this. Don't take a sack. The don'ts, because then you lose your aggressiveness offensively. So really it's been kind of a scheme philosophy. And then it's been just this overall understanding as a team, how do we raise our floor? How is our bad better? You got your bad can't beat you. Your bad can just put you in a bad position, and that's okay. You can get out of bad positions, but when your bad beats you, you're in trouble. So what are the bads? Grossly missed assignments are really bad, and they get you beat. Lack of effort gets you beat. Lack of conditioning is really bad. People drop balls. You don't want it to happen, but it happens, right? And you're going to turn over here and there just because you have a lot of plays offensively. But what kind of turnovers are they? What down and distance are the turnovers? We had a ton of red zone or 1st and 10 or, had momentum in the game and we're turning it over. And then finishing. Excuse me. I think finishing in the reds and stopping teams from finishing is a big deal. In modern day football, it is very hard in college to stop people. The rules are set up for offense. The hashes are set up for offense. Pretty much everything is set up for offense. So, and you saw this with the great Alabama defenses started giving up more points. These dominant defenses that have historic legacies of playing great defense. It's in their DNA. All of a sudden it was tough to play defense. Everybody's like, oh, the offenses are getting better. Well, no, the rules are set up for offensive football. So if you know going in that defense is going to be hard to limit yards, then how do you win football games? Well, you limit points. And everybody says, we'll get the ball back. Turnovers, yes. You preach turnovers, you teach turnovers. It's the biggest indicator of winning and losing in football. But sometimes you can't force turnovers. But what you can do is you can become an iron fence when you get in the red zone and defensively hold teams to field goals and takeaways. And then offensively, we got to finish. Part of raising the floor is it's coming away with more points when we get in the red area. I think that's scoring more touchdowns, but it's also never not scoring points. You got to be
right.
Shouldn't say never. There's probably going to be a 4th down. You go for it because it makes sense to do it, and you don't get points. At least you pinned them. But you got to have high percentages of finishing drives off of points.
Jalen Kitna, your quarterback. Your observations from how much he's grown from last season to now, precision, all of those things that you're looking for.
Yeah, he's made giant steps. Now, he knows this, and so if his parents are listening or he's listening, they'll nod their head and say yes. Like he needs to get better. Like he is not where I want him to be. But my expectations are unrealistic probably too, but that's a good thing. I think we just keep pushing him to be the best quarterback in America. Like that is the goal. Play with that type of temperament, play with that type of confidence, play with that type of precision. Play at that time of mastery of the offense and push him to that standard and push his preparation to that standard. And that's where he has absolutely been a 10. His preparation is impeccable. He's developed a really cool pre-practice routine, a study routine, a very professional approach to handling the responsibility that is quarterback. So we've seen a lot of growth because of that. Instinctively, he's gotten a lot better. That's been the biggest growth. I ran and grabbed 15 minutes of film before I came on here. I got to see one period, and Mort made the comment without being prodded by me. He's like, man, he is making so many more off-schedule instinctive plays. Things don't go perfect. He's making them better so much more often. So that's really encouraging. Now, the consistency is not nearly where I want it. He still is young, so he doesn't see it right all the time. He still is, I think, doubting some of his reads, so he's less decisive at times. I don't think he has total mastery of some of the things we're trying to do, but that's our fault too. Like, you do everything in training camp. Like, we got the whole playbook in. I mean, it's a ton of stuff. We got to do a better job weekly making sure that's distilled down to amount of information that he can master and that we can master offensively. So, doing very well. I don't want anybody to be like, oh no, Trent's worried. I'm not worried. I have a maniacal expectation for how this position is played. It's never been played the way I expect it to be played here. And hopefully this is the year that I feel good about how the position is played.
This is something we were discussing because we hear comments like you just made from coaches. We get the sound bites, and it's hard to decipher. Is there a real issue here? Is this a potential problem, or is this a coach seeing a lot of growth, liking what he sees, but just pushing to that next level?
I'll be honest, you guys know I don't have any baloney in me. I think the potential issue here is we ask him to do too much. If we were playing fifth grade math football, which some teams do, he would just be amazing. You'd be like, oh, this is the greatest player ever. If we were playing, pre-algebra offensive football, I think people are like, man, he's really, really, really good. We're trying to play calculus offensive football. And I think what Mort and I's challenge is we want to do it because there's extreme advantages if you can do that. Like they're massive. Run game checks, pass game checks, double cadences. Like you can really get a defense to where they're just crumble in front of you, especially when they're better than you. Really the tools are when you play an opponent that is physically better than you, but you are intellectually better than them, you can balance out the difference. And we'll have a few of those. We'll play 3 or 4 games where our opponent is bigger, stronger, faster, whatever it is, paid a lot more. Let's just use modern day terms. Their salary caps are way higher than our salary caps. So they have higher paid, more on paper talented players. So you want to balance that out with kind of an intellectual ability to do more than them. So that's what we're pushing for.
Service Academy's been doing it for years.
Yes. So, but what we may have to do early in the season is keep this more algebra 2, and find a balance there to where we still can have some distinct advantages, but we're not asking the quarterback to triple count and be, Tom Brady at the line of scrimmage. And we really do. If you brought in an NFL quarterback, pick your 5 favorites, and you brought him to one of our practices, they would say that's exactly what we do. Exactly. They wouldn't say we do more. Some would say they do less. Like they at the line of scrimmage, these guys have an enormous amount of information they have to process pre and post snap. Probably unfair and probably not smart to do it all the time. But to push the envelope that way, because if we get 20% of that out of them, now we have a distinct advantage. And it's really on Mort and I to make sure we distill it down to a level of information that this quarterback and these players can master in a week's game plan.
We will continue our conversation with Coach Trent Dilfer. This is Jocks. This is 3-Man Front. Welcome back. This is Jocks 3-Man Front. We are live UAB football practice facility under the pavilion. Coach Trent Dilfer continues our conversation here right outside, about 10 feet away, Coach. You got a great office and a wonderful perch.
You may have to go in there if it starts raining. This is actually, you do get water through here, so just know.
Oh, yeah.
You may have to
You
go
just
in
pointed
there.
that out. It's not supposed to rain, though, right?
I don't know. I never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great setup. I mean, so many people had a part of building this facility. Now that I've been here a couple of years and have heard the story, they just did a fantastic job. We are the envy of many. I've had tons of coaches, like Jeff Tedford when he was at Fresno, and even after he left because he was still involved. Spencer, a bunch of guys on the West Coast called me and said, "Hey, we're thinking about a pavilion. Can we come see yours?" And I just turned them over to Mark. But this is a great building. Our players are very pleased. We try to keep it very family oriented and honor the investment that so many have made.
Coach, I want to ask you about your defense. You bring in Steve Russ to run your defensive side this year. How are those guys looking, in your opinion, the first 3 weeks?
More professional, more dialed, more instinctive. Landrum was asking me off camera, I guess, what's the biggest difference? They're more instinctive football players. They've played more football. I think that's the narrative that doesn't get talked about enough in the portal is how much have they played? How productive have they been? Not what they recruited. Who cares? Has the guy played? Has he learned how to be a productive college football player? And, you have your inside linebackers have thousands of starts between the two of them. And then you add Calvin Pitcher into the mix, and he, has played a ton as kind of a strong side outside nickel type backer. Your defensive line has a lot more playing experience. Your secondary has a lot more playing experience. Guys that have played real snaps and real college football, so they've naturally gained an instinctive quality to them. They don't have to see it 47 times during the week to understand it. They can be like, oh, okay, I can see it in the classroom. I can watch it on film. I can go get a couple walkthrough reps of it. Now I know it's coming. So that's been pleasant. Our floor is still way too low. We're giving up way too many big plays on defense, which is one of the parts of what makes this defensive structure work well is that it can create havoc at the line of scrimmage, but also limit big plays. So we got to do a much better job limiting big plays. Now that could be a testament to our offense too. Our offenses continue to be highly explosive in practice. So that's always the challenge. It's like turnovers. Turnovers in practice, good or bad? Well, as a head coach, they're both. It's awesome that our DBs are diving and picking off balls. It's horrible that our quarterbacks are throwing them. It's great that defensive linemen are punching out balls and secondary guys are punching out balls, but it's bad that our guys are fumbling them. So it's good and bad, and we've seen that with explosive plays too. We've seen a lot of explosive plays on offense. That's a good thing. It's a bad thing because the defense is giving them up. So we won't know. And I've said this, and I'm not trying to be coy and give head coach. I still don't know who we are. I don't know how good we're going to be. I'm sick of people talking about things like that. I want to see it. I've been conned for 2 years, and I'm not going to be conned this year. So I'm an optimistic person by nature, so I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm still very skeptical on some things. I still think we're way away from where we need to be. I see too many things during the day, whether it be a lack of detail, whether it be a lack of understanding, whether it be a lack of engagement, but just still not to my standard of a completely professional approach while we're in the preparation mode so that we can go out and just let it rip on Saturdays.
So many changes, turnover on your roster. And I remember you telling me this a few months ago that you're still learning these guys.
Yeah.
At this point now, and you said, hey, I'm not going to be one of these. Everybody come in and introduce your name and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Still haven't.
What is the culture, the community that you've been able to witness within your locker room?
Yeah, I think it's been forged through excuse me, it's been forged through some hard things. We've created a lot of hard environments in the building, whether that be expectations, standards academically, standards from a work ethic standpoint, standards on the in the winter program, our Winning Edge program, as hard as I've ever seen. And I've been around football a long time. It is, and everybody says we have the hardest offseason. This is the hardest offseason I've ever seen. So it was intentional by Lyle and I to make sure that these people will reveal themselves. If I end up being any good at this, and people say, "Hey, what's your core value?" I would say, "Well, I don't really believe in competition. I believe in revelation." People will reveal themselves. You put them in enough hard situations, they'll reveal their true football character. You don't have to say, "Oh, let's grade these 70 reps and see who's better." No, let's give them 140 really hard situations, and they'll reveal which one's better. And I think revelation is way more important than competition. I think competition's internal. You talk to some of the greatest competitors that have ever lived. It's not me against you; it's me against me. That's competition. Revelation is I'll reveal that I'm the best player, that I'm the number one tennis player in the world, that I'm the number one safety, that I'm the number one quarterback. I'll reveal that over time, because I'm competing with myself every day. So we've created some revelatory situations, and that also goes to culture, because now you can say one thing, man, you can read my Be a Pro playbook, the 20-pager, and recite stuff and try to kiss my butt, but then I can put you in a tough, adverse situation and see how you respond. That's going to tell me all I need to know, and we've had a lot of that. Now, we will do next week intentionally, we will now have a little more kumbaya. Because now it's been revealed. Now we all know who each other are. There are no secrets anymore. And now we'll move into more of the family meeting atmosphere. I don't know if you guys had family meetings, but with 3 daughters, I had a lot of family meetings.
I bet you did.
And a lot of those family meetings where, hey, we have a no drama rule, and you're going to be reminded on a Wednesday night, no drama rule, and respect to your parents and respect to the people around you and our family core values, and we're going to hold you to these standards. And I think we need a little more of that now, because now, it's been gnarly at times. It's been really gnarly getting kids that have never been together to go through really stressful, hard, fatiguing situations, not always handle them well, then have to deal with that conflict. And now I think it's time for us to kind of say, okay, Are we in this for thick and thin? And what are we willing to commit to as a football team?
Coach, as you self-assess your own coaching, how much has that changed because of the portal, NIL, from your early vision when you took this job?
I think, I actually called some of my high school players that are playing the SEC right now. I talked to some of my high school coaches. I talked to my NFL teammates. I said, give me an evaluation of me. Like when I was at my best, what was I? When I was at my worst, what was I? Because right now I'm at my worst, and I really don't know why. There's times. Now there's certain things I know. And I think one of the biggest takeaways is I treat people the way I would like to be treated. But I was a pro. You didn't have to tell me twice. Like I learned really early on. Like I was a knucklehead, and then I flipped the switch, and I didn't ask a lot of questions. You told me to go do that, I was going to do it. Why? Because you're my boss, and you probably have my best interest in mind. And even if you don't, you're my boss. You know what I mean? I'm kind of naturally a compliant person. I'm a disruptor if I don't trust you. But I'm pretty compliant if I trust you and I respect you. You can pretty much tell me to do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm going to do it. Ask Ted. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to do it. I just think that's a good way to live life, and that's how I expect. So I was a little too much of that. And I had built such a culture, or we had built such a culture at Lipscomb, that everybody just kind of met that expectation. Here it's not happened, and I think I've been for the word I would use is soft. You know what I mean? I've just been too soft because I'm too idealistic. I say, I've taught this. I've shared it. I've showed a video. I've had a staff meeting about it. I've done the things. I said it once. You should listen. Like, I don't talk a lot. When I talk, you should probably listen. Probably do it the way the head coach wants to be done. And then just assume it's going to happen. Doesn't happen. So more of a hard edge without yelling, more matter of fact, more you didn't meet the standards, so there's a consequence, choices, decisions, consequences. Firing those coaches was brutal, right? It was brutal. Some of my best friends. One of them is one of my closest friends in the world. But it also sent a very clear message that there's a standard, there's an expectation, and we're going to meet it. And I'm not going to yell and scream. I never braid a coach out on the field, but you just won't be here. Players, I'm not going to yell and scream. You're not a bad person because you're late to weights, but your reputational damages just got hit. It's just matter of fact. You didn't go to class, you have CT. Still love you, still like you, glad you're here, but there's going to be a consequence all the time. Choices, decisions, consequences. A much harder line approach, less sympathy, less, oh, okay, I hear your reasons. I don't care about your reasons. You didn't meet the standard. That's what it is. So it's hard for me. It's very hard for me because I would like to have a bunch of players, a bunch of coaches that just did what you asked them to do because you're trying to show them respect by asking them in a nice way. And I think what's happened, unfortunately, culturally in football is that they look at that as a suggestion unless you're yelling and screaming and cussing, and I'm not that guy. So what I've had to clearly define is there are suggestions and then there's mandates. And if it's a suggestion, it'll lead this way. Hey, I'm suggesting you look at this. If that phrase is not used on the front end, consider it a mandate. And there's really nothing in between. And I've had suggestions. I've talked to the defense staff. Hey, I've seen this. I'd suggest you look into this, a drop 8 coverage. Russ goes, I've never had a lot of success with drop 8. Great. It was just suggesting it.
Yeah.
But then there's times like I want that route depth at 12 yards. Coach Carver, yes, sir. It's at 12 yards. He knows I'm not suggesting that it might be better at 12 yards. I want it at 12 yards. Hey, quarterback, I'm not suggesting that your eyes start here. 1,000 out of 1,000 times when that ball is caught, your eyes start there. And there's no room for exception. I expect us to lift a certain way. I don't suggest we go in the weight room and have energy and you get all your reps and you put the weights back and you clean up your Gatorade bottles and you wear the right shirt. No, that's not a suggestion, right? Now, it's a suggestion that if we're in a walkthrough at the end of the day and we've already showered or something, sure, wear your whatever, wear your flip-flops. We're only going out there for 5 minutes to talk about something. That's fine. But when it's a walkthrough during the day, it's not a suggestion to have your unbreakable shirt on, black shorts, tennis shoes, tied, certain socks, right? And then I also will explain my reasons. I'm not doing it I'm doing it for your good. I'm teaching you something. When you have a job, I always use Walmart because I think it's a great company. Walmart managers a really good job. Support a really good family doing that, right? your superior is not suggesting what time you get in. He's not suggesting you do team building events. He's not suggesting these things. Like, you are going to have a boss in life that's going to tell you whether you agree with him or not, or her or not. You do these things because it's best for us. And I think there's almost this culture now of young athletes that think that they can maybe take the advice or maybe not. And this building is no longer that way.
A lot of reasons for that. If there's one thing that you can guarantee, and we're not going to talk wins and losses for the season, but if there's one thing you can guarantee, identifiable trait that people will, me and Pat, everybody at Protective Stadium, we take on Alabama State on that Thursday night, will be able to notice about this year's version of the UAB Blazers. What will it be?
I'd say it's three-tiered. You'll see a team that the word that the layman will use is fun. We will have fun. I would call it more at a looseness. We will have on game day a confidence in our preparation so we can just let it rip. We will. We recruited that type of kid. We're not recruiting the high anxiety, performance freak out, yell and scream when they do bad, think it's cool to throw a helmet kid. We're just not recruiting them. You don't make it in my office. You might make it in the building, but you ain't making it in my office. Now, we'll have some episodes that aren't that. You're always obviously going to have some problems. But, like, in general, you're going to look at the temperament of the sideline, and you're going to see a team that's like, wow, they're confident. They're 17-point underdogs, yet they still have confidence. We will play hard. We will play much, much harder than we've played in the past. Again, we recruited a kid that has a natural motor and energy and effort to them that, we'd look at kids on tape and we'd be like, he's really talented. But look at him cruising to the ball, away from the ball. Not going to recruit him. Well, coach, man, that guy's really – we can coach that in. No, you can't. Can't coach effort. Guys either have it or they don't. So we have guys tremendous amount of effort on both sides of the ball. And then I think you'll see a team that I'm hoping on this one. I see it's coming. You'll see a team that doesn't flinch. We're going to be down in games. We're going to throw interceptions. We're going to give up big plays. It's natural. Bad things are going to happen. A lot of bad things are going to happen this year. It's guaranteed.
That's inevitable.
By the way, the team that goes undefeated this year and wins the Natty, they'll have bad things happen too.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely a guarantee in football that pretty much every bad thing that you can imagine is going to happen at some point. We're going to respond well to them.
One last question. This is our Blazer fan mailbag.
Oh, yeah. It's a big bag, man.
Would you please ask Coach Dilfer why he hates the color gold?
You love doing this, don't you? I'll answer that question week 1 when you see us roll out.
Woo! There's the teaser. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the hate. I wouldn't be comfortable if everybody liked me.
Coach Dilfer, we appreciate you taking time.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for hosting us.
All right. See you guys.
Coach Trent Dilfer, UAB. We continue our coverage here from the South Side as we continue on this Friday three-man front on Jocks.